In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we help you understand what is the dark web and why should you actually be monitoring it. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Got a great show today for you geeks. You're going to love this one. This is shiny ball syndrome all over the place. This is almost like, I'd almost say the P word now, but this is tech all over this one. I'm going to introduce to you right now. Good morning and welcome to the show. Tony Capewell from MSP Dark Web. How are you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good stuff. So we're going to talk today. Tony runs a business. He's going to explain and introduce himself in a minute. But we're going to be talking about an amazing platform that they've built that helps you monitor the dark web. So if you don't know what the dark web is, if you've heard about it, but you don't really know why it relates to an MSP, then you need to stay tuned for this one because it's going to be an absolutely cracking show. Before we get cracking, Tony, give us a little bit of a rundown. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you help?
So I've been in the IT industry for too long, nearly 30 years. I've originally I do run an MSP alongside MSP Dark Web that's now been running for about 4 years.
Good stuff. And how did this passion project come about? Because it's now turned into a great fledgling business, isn't it?
It certainly has, yeah. I had an experience with another vendor that wasn't too great. And towards the end of lockdown, we decided that we would look into the feasibility of building our own dark web scanning platform.
Yeah.
And 4 years down the line, we've got nearly 200 MSPs globally.
Nice. And what does the product do? This isn't necessarily about the product. I've just said this is not going to be a pitch. Now I'm getting into pitch the product. What's the outcomes of the product itself? And we'll get into the
in summary, it allows an MSP to monitor their customers' domains and any personal email addresses that they may have for directors or shareholders of the business. And our system will go out and search the dark web for any breaches that have occurred where stolen credentials, email address and password combinations have been leaked onto the dark web and are available for criminals to pick up and then utilize that information for identity fraud or more sinister, where they're stealing money from individuals or from companies.
So personally, as well as a business point of view, this is a serious thing. We've heard about the dark web. It comes into the security shiny ball, which, as we know, if you go to any event in the last 2 or 3 years, the amount of security vendors that have popped up is incredible, the amount that they are. And I'm not technical, so you're in absolutely completely safe hands here, Tony. I could say something completely stupid and you can just ignore it. But lots of security vendors. Yeah, is that because MSP? Some people think that MSPs should be going in to sell their products and services on fear. Is it because it's the latest thing that's quite an easy thing to put a platform together and before you got some information you never had before? But in this show, we're going to help you understand what is the dark web. Why should you monitor it, and the purpose behind the passion of creating this business? So, Tony, most of us have probably got a fair idea on what the dark web is, but what is it? What's the difference between the dark web and the deep web and the open web? And there's all these other types of different webs out there, isn't there? And let's just hear it from the horse's mouth. What's it all about?
Okay, what everybody knows day to day is the open web, which is what we use Google for. We use Google to search, find information, people's websites and various information that we use day to day, BBC, Facebook, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
The deep web is a vast portion of the internet that's not indexed by these search engines. It includes content that is hidden behind login forms, paywalls, or other types of access controls. Examples of this are like online banking pages, private corporate websites, medical records, government databases. So that's the deep web. And then the dark web is a small, intentionally hidden part of the deep web that requires specific software, a different browser that will allow you to go in and view those that are then hosted and stored on the dark web. These special tools, Tor browsers, peer-to-peer tools, etc., are what are available for people to use that platform to then find the information that they want.
So they can access the data that's in there. Which just bemuses me, really. This is bad guy territory, right? Isn't it? Nothing good happens in the dark web. Is that a fair assumption?
Fair assumption.
A fair assumption. There's not a lot of good stuff goes on in the dark web, hence the name. So
it's also used for the likes of sort of whistleblowing sites. So if people want to share something with anonymity, they can drop stuff within these whistleblowers. So it's not necessarily all about bad,
criminals and all that.
Criminals, but it is predominantly made up with what is known as criminal activity.
Right. Okay. Because I want to know, because I'm interested. Who owns it? Who's hosting this? How does it kind of work? Is this all just to do with these peer networks, or is this something a bit more technical that there's no chance we're going to cover it off in the next 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's quite complicated, but it is. You could set up a server that serves data on the dark web from your home address. Obviously, it's trackable, but these criminals, these cyber criminals that are running some of these huge big sites, it's much more complex.
Yeah.
But anybody, if you have peer-to-peer software tools running on your workstation, your Mac or your PC sitting in your house, then those tools are accessing the dark web, and equally on a peer-to-peer network, your device is becoming part of the dark web. Okay.
So we got the dark web. We've got a lot of bad information on there. There's a possibility that you or your customers' data could be on there, which means that if we actually find out about it, then we can change it and then it becomes obsolete. I'm guessing that's the kind of the simplistic view of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is dark web monitoring then? If it's one of these things that's hidden in the corner of the internet, how can you go in there and find out what's on it?
There's some automation that occurs. So we have a combination of automated bots that will go out and source and look for information that's on the dark web. We also then have a security team from our data source that will actively, if there's a breach that they're aware of. So I don't know, I'm not sure. Let's just take an example, say Virgin Airlines. Let's just say one of their databases, which has got all of their passenger information, was breached, and that information is stolen and then dropped onto a site within the dark web and has Joe Blogg's email address and his password that he not only uses on Virgin, but he also uses on his Amazon account, he uses it on his Facebook account, he uses it here, there, and everywhere. So the criminals will sell that data for very small amounts of money, but they'll sell it over and over and over and over again. And some of those criminal groups will be small, some possibly individuals, and they'll have automated tools that will use that data to then try and get access to those accounts. Once they get access, then within those accounts, for example, on a Virgin account, you may have your passport number in there, you've got your date of birth, you've got various information, possibly your credit card information, so on and so forth. A breach that occurs is not necessarily the individual's fault, it's the site that has been breached, and therefore the credentials that you stored in that site are then available on the dark web. Yeah.
So what can we, once we've got this information and and I'm guessing that this comes up in your reports, in your analysis, in your tool, does it? Or which I'm guessing, and I know that there are other dark web monitoring tools out there, but this will ping up emails. So this will not just be for yourself. You could, as an MSP, we know that they're high target, they're high value to the bad guys to get that. Does it work? Does the dark web monitoring work that it would then cascade down all the way down through the tree of your own clients and all the way through your PSA and RMM and databases and all of that sort of thing? Or is it a bit more complicated?
So the way it will depend on the general public will use an email address and password combination for one site on multiple sites.
Yeah.
A piece of information that is stolen from, say, Virgin Airlines may not necessarily on its own may not necessarily be sufficient for them to commit any fraud against that individual.
Right.
But if they can gain access to the multiple sites and get as much information about that individual, they build up their own profile, which then will allow them to attempt to commit some kind of fraud on that person if they get enough hits. And that is, for the criminals, that's an automated process. There's not like someone sitting there just trying to log in one by one to everybody's accounts, because there is millions of records of data.
Yeah.
But for the our platform does is it allows them, for their customers, it allows them to put their customer's domain in, and then we use that domain to go and search our database to see if there is any records, and we populate new breaches, anywhere between 5 and 10 new breaches on a daily basis into the database. So that's how big this is, and how many records. I'm not sure what the total number of records are in the database. I'll ask Neil in a second to grab that for me and get the number, but it is growing on a daily basis.
So if someone's got yours or your client's credentials, and this might be a stupid question, and you've got 2FA set up on your Santander banking app, can they still get into it?
They can, yeah. So session cookie data is something that we are currently looking at. So we are collecting session cookie data, and session cookie data is when you go to a website, your browser will store a session cookie, and that information, if you log into your account and you say remember me for the next 7 days,
right,
that stores a cookie in your browser, and that data then is also stolen, and we're collecting that at the moment, and we're just currently working out how we can tie that stolen session cookie data to the individual's email address and or device that we collected within the data that we've got on the dark web.
So is that tip number 1 from today? When it says click and remember me for the next 7 days, don't click it.
I never do.
No, that's the good recommendation.
Yeah, never tick it, but if you do tick it, just make it a regular occurrence to clear your browser cache out all the time, and session cookies, etc.
Because then I'm guessing
which is quite annoying.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you load up the website again, you've got to log in and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But then using a tool like a password tool that keeps your password safe and also allows you to then log into websites using the password manager, that is a much easier process, and you don't have to remember your passwords and your logins for each site. So yeah.
Okay.
So I've just been handed a piece of paper. So currently we have 149 billion emails in our database.
Jesus.
And 88 billion passwords. And when we say passwords, that means that we have, whether they're encrypted or not, we've unencrypted them and we have them in plain text.
Oh, crikey. I need to have a chat with you when we stop recording, just to have a quick look and see. So this is obviously something that an MSP can use proactively to talk to their clients or offer as a service, isn't it? Is that the opportunity here, that they can literally just buy this product and then the MSP needs to explain why it's important to them? Because we know that most MSPs have quite a bit of a hard time explaining non-technical business benefits to running IT businesses rather than the technical side of things. So what's some of the language that you would suggest an MSP uses to enable this to be a sales opportunity?
We have built an entire marketing done for you. So anybody that signs up to our service will receive the full suite of marketing that we have, which gives them the ability to run an email campaign, posters, leaflets, etc., that they can use as part of their sales process. The platform has a prospecting tool which will allow the MSP to run a prospecting report, which has limited results, but gives totals for that particular prospect's domain. It will give them the number of records that we've got stored in our database and how many email addresses, how many passwords that we have in the database, and it will return for them on a nice report the top 5 most recent breaches and the top 5 most severe breaches. So that gives the MSP a nice little report that they can either encompass into their own material for when they're proposing a managed service to their customer, or they can use it as an individual tool to go and talk to that client if they're already talking to them about dark web scanning and why it's important, etc., etc. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's quash some myths right now. So we're working with a lot of MSPs, and there's been a real over the last 6 or 8 months, 9 months. There's been a real security focus. IASME, cybersecurity essentials. What do you need to do building this thing? And when we had Paul, we were just talking about our great friend Paul Green. When we had Paul at our client intensive a couple of weeks, he came up with this phrase that it's never been repeated, so I shall repeat it again. And he said, all you MSPs, you love stack fiddling, don't you? It's all about fiddling around with a stack, right? Which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
I was listening to, he was on a podcast the other day, actually.
Did he say it again?
Feed, and he said it again, he's like stack fiddling, and I think I read it on his,
Oh, I thought I was going to coin that one. I'll have to have a chat with him about that. Anyway, what is stack fiddling? My perception of stack fiddling is, we've got cybersecurity essentials. Yes, I've got some monitoring software. I've got this in place. I've got that. I've been to an event. I've bought another one. And then before you know it, you've got this massive big pile of security stack that probably some of it actually conflicts with itself. Some of it duplicates the services and not the services, the functions of it duplicate themselves because people are always developing, the vendors are always developing the software, and they might now do something. So you've got this whole stack that's stuck to your system with the antivirus and the anti-malware tools and all this. Why is this any different to picking up all of those, what we would call a standard
Yeah, because
cybersecurity stack?
this is nothing to do. Dark web is nothing to do with the device. Effectively, the data that's available on the dark web is not necessarily down to the individual and what they've done on their computer, whether
Right,
they've clicked on the wrong link or whatever. It's more about, like we said earlier, a big corporation that's been hacked, and the data that is stored within there is about the individual. So me,
right,
a big airline could have my data, your data, and probably all of your MSP's data on there
yeah,
because they've all used that popular airline. No one's done anything wrong other than the airline.
okay,
Yeah, so it's then, but then that stolen data that is available in there, if the individual, for example, if you use your email address and the same password on your airline site, and you use that same password to log into your
yeah,
365 account, which has access to your emails and various other applications, then if your target, there's a risk that you could then be hacked into. They could be monitoring your emails over a period of time, looking to see, take an opportunity of when you're making a big payment to a
yeah,
supplier or so on, and they can interject that email and just say, "Oh, by the way," and it looks like it's come from you. You would have no idea. "Oh, by the way, with bank details have changed." Before you get a large payment that you were supposed to pay to your video crew is now gone
yeah,
to
gone
someone else. Not, yeah,
gone to somewhere
exactly.
else.
Yeah.
So just, I know we said how does it work at the beginning of the show, but do you have to monitor it every day? Is it something you have to keep running this? Is it something that just runs in the background and when breaches
Yeah.
pop up, it
Yeah,
just alerts?
it runs in the background. So
Right,
we ingest new breaches into the database on a daily basis, as I
right,
said. So between 5 and 10 new breaches on a daily basis, and each of those breaches contains a number of records,
right.
generally hundreds of thousands, if not millions. With the MSP running the monitoring within our platform,
Yeah,
we're actively, as soon as that breach is ingested into our system, then we will alert the MSP via their PSA tool of any new breaches that have occurred, that have been listed in that new breach that's been ingested, or those list of breaches that have been ingested into the platform. So
brilliant.
today, if there was a new breach come in and MSPA, they've got a customer's domain that's listed 100 times in that breach, then they'll get a notification to say your customer has been listed in this breach, and we give them the breach has a severity level, and that's based on how much information is in that breach for that
Right,
individual. And then it's down to the MSP then to speak to the individuals that has been listed and get them to try and locate the site that is related to,
yeah,
if we haven't given the information. But anywhere where they use that email address and
yeah,
password combination needs
yeah.
to be changed,
Just
because
change it.
and then you're mitigating that data
Yeah.
becomes useless
Yeah. Is it as simple
from
as that? Is it literally as simple as soon as it gets alerted, you just change your email address and then that combination doesn't work?
change your password.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
change the password. Yeah.
yeah, change your password, and that email address and password combination, if that doesn't exist anymore, then the data that's on
Then
the
the
dark
data that
web
they've got
is,
in the
yeah,
dark web.
is useless.
Now, I'm asking this for a friend, right? Have you got an iPhone?
I
Do,
don't.
do you? Yeah, you don't use an iPhone, right? On the iPhone, someone told me once that every now and then, or quite often, you get a little thing coming up that says, "Hey, your phone, this password combination has been found in a security breach." But it's literally every single blooming day this comes up for this mate of mine. Is this something that, because are Apple doing this then within the Apple products and Android within their products? Is that a similar thing?
It is very similar, yeah. There's a lot of products out there. A lot of password managers are now integrating some form of dark web
Okay,
protection scanning, but what they're doing is they're looking specifically for the email address and password that you've saved in the
right.
password
In there.
manager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
what we're doing is we're doing it at the domain level. So we're not just specifically looking for that email address and password combination. We're looking in our breaches.
yeah,
We're looking to see if there is any entry in that breach for that domain.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So we've got we're moving. We've got a new UI coming out very soon, and we're adding in a lot more information. So there will be an advanced service which will allow MSPs to not only find email address and password combinations that are listed on the dark web, but another 230 odd personal identifiable information.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
driving license, credit card information,
Oh God, you're scaring me now.
whether they like a cat or whether they like a dog, whether they're what color their favorite color. We have a whole host of information, and it may seem immaterial that you like dogs rather than cats, but if you're an avid dog lover and you will do anything for your dog, and you get a phone call from someone and they start talking to you about a sad scenario with a dog, and they're like, yeah, it's just going to cost you 50 quid just to help out these poor dogs,
Yeah.
you might pay 50 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they do that over and over again,
Yeah.
that easy. That's
Why do you sleep at night?
I'm not the criminal here.
I know you're not the criminal, but unless you've got everything all bolted down, it's oh my God, someone's going to end up coming in the back door. Mentioned it before, bit of a shiny ball. Who's this ultimately for? Who needs to be doing this? Is it the MSP? Is it the end user? Is it just people who have got a lot of money in the bank? What's the best practice for this?
Like I say, it's not necessarily about the individual having loads of money. You may not have a load of money, but you might pay 50 quid for the poor dogs that have got no homes or whatever the scam may be. So it doesn't necessarily have to be targeted at anyone that's got lots of money, but it is relevant for everybody.
Yeah.
Cybercrime grosses more money annually than any other crime put together.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's growing.
And on that point, that drops the mic. Tony, thanks very much today with your time preparing for the show and also sharing those stats and information about the dark web monitoring. As I mentioned many times before, I'm not techie and I get it, so that's really good. So we did a great job there. So any MSP should be able to go and provide this solution not only for themselves but also for other people. What's the big summary takeaways from today's show? What's everybody got to do once they hit the stop button on this podcast?
My opinion is all MSPs should have dark web scanning in their stack. We offer it at a very low entry point, but it should be something that everybody has in their stack for sure.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And here comes the shameless plug now. I'm going to ask Tony to share, if you want to get in contact with Tony and have a conversation about their solution and their platform and how it works. But the one thing I'd really love you to do, if you do that, can you please just say to Tony, we heard you on the podcast, you were amazing, and I want to talk to you about your dark web monitoring. So how do people get in contact with you, Tony, if they want to continue the conversation?
Really simple. So just head over to our website, which is mspdarkweb.com.
Easy as that.
Easy as that.
Hit the buttons and away you go. Once again, thanks ever so much for your help today. Really great show. Really enjoyed it. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah.
You take care.
Thank you very much.
Wait, just before you go. And if you're curious about how this episode links with the ability to scale your MSP to 1 million, or if you're already there, accelerate to 5, then we want to invite you to come and take the MSP Mastery Quiz. And in just 3 minutes, you're going to get a 360-degree scan of your business where you can identify the 1 or 2 tactics that can help you find more time, engage and align your people, and help generate more leads in your MSP. It's really simple. Just click on the link in the show notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode, we'd love to get some feedback from you by means of a rating review on Spotify or iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate every single one of them. Now you can go and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to catching up and connecting with you soon. All the best now.